Mr. Fantastic, you have so much to live for. Think of your wonderful beast. He misses you. His name is Sparky. Sparky, say hi.
What kind of noise does Sparky make?
Sparky doesn't understand the question. He's not saying anything.
So Sparky doesn't want me. Sparky doesn't want Mr. Fantastic.
Maybe you should get down here and talk to him and convince him to convince you to stop killing yourself.
Well, I'll just get down to him the fastest way I can think of.
Yeah, there you go. Good job.
Would Mr. Fantastic make a splat on the concrete?
Careful, Dr. Richards.
It depends on how he controls his body's flexibility. Again, this all ties back to it depends on the specifics of how his powers work.
So, technically speaking, he could just jump off buildings and be A-okay.
Because if all of the downward force, instead of, like, harming his body, just makes him kind of splat.
It basically, if he turns his body into a kickball.
Yeah.
Where it absorbs all the shock when he lands.
Yeah. Theoretically, you could, but again, it depends on the power set.
Right. Hey, it's the Daily Blue Bugle.
Bungle? It's the daily
Where's Captain
ship.
America? Get over here.
So I'm trying to think of other heroes that have neat powers that they've used in interesting ways. And I'm having trouble thinking of any.
There's... I don't know what point in the Miller run it is, but there's this, like, collection of Daredevil comics I have where he's fighting a guy... He's fighting, like, this specter thing in a graveyard. And Daredevil basically tricks it into hearing his heartbeat from somewhere else. And traps it in a tombstone to kill it. And I thought that was cool because if something can hear Daredevil's heartbeat like he can hear other people's, he suddenly has to fight against someone who has a similar power set to himself.
Yeah.
So how does he beat somebody that can sense his heartbeat?
That would be cool. There's a little silly joke comic that someone drew. Or no, it was when people pretend that it's like superheroes texting each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Daredevil texting Spider-Man. And he's like, hey, I just fought this guy, his name's like Mysterio or something. And the whole point of Mysterio is he can like make a bunch of illusions.
Mm-hmm.
And Daredevil's just like, it was really weird because he kept saying like, "Ooh, where am I? Where? How are you gonna find me?" And he's like, and he was just like standing in front of me, so I punched him. I didn't. What was he on about? And Spider-Man's like, "Oh my God, his abilities don't work on you."
I have seen that one.
And that's cool. And I'm like, are you telling me that people who make stupid fake joke conversations online think of better pairings for heroes and villains than the comic book industry?
Well, I mean, Daredevil and Spider-Man kind of fight each other's villains all the time. I think one of the things in that book I have, actually, Daredevil fights Dr. Octopus at, like, a dinner party.
Oh, that's a shame.
Well, it's like some kind of... Like, Daredevil's there, and he's trying not to be Daredevil, but then Dr. Octopus, like... Actually, no, that might not be that book. That might be one of the newer Daredevil comics. I could be wrong. Look, he's wrecking up the bugle.
Yeah, why is he... He just needed to get out. He didn't need to wreck the building.
Well, I mean, he's a villain. Why is he gonna just politely leave?
You could record it with your smartphone, JJ.
Oh, there it is.
How to turn it on.
Don't insult your boss. He's gonna fire you.
But he gets pictures. Pictures of Spider-Man.
Yeah, I guess.
And that's all that Jameson ever wants.
At least Spider-Man's back.
Yeah.
With Mr. Fantastic Man.
Well, I mean, we're fighting the Spider-Man villain. He's got to be here.
But that's always the fun of the games, is that it's all mixed match.
It is, but I think a lot of the villains end up fighting their own counterpart or whatever at some point.
Why is Spider-Man on that billboard?
Well, you know. Look, I don't know if you are aware of this, but in the Marvel universe, Marvel Comics also exists.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay, because there's a side mission near the end, because you collect, like, gold bricks to unlock special side missions. And one of them involves saving... I forget who you fight. It might be this... No, it's not the Sinister Six. That's a different game. But you go into Marvel Comics to save, like, Kevin Feige and all them.
Oh, cool.
Spidey says something close by.
So, a billboard of Spider-Man in action
Spider
isn't
senses
that
tingling.
weird. Fine.
I guess. But isn't Spider-Man's whole dealio that, like, a lot of people dislike him because the Daily Bugle...
Well, no,
slanders
just
him?
I think for the most part, just Jameson doesn't like him.
Oh, so all of his blustering is ineffective because the people still like him?
For the most part, although I'm pretty sure there's been storylines where Spider-Man is, like, made to look like a villain to the people.
Hey, you're that Spider-Man guy. Do a flip. Oh, that was such a good movie.
Yeah, it was.
You know, I bet this would be a good time to tell people about our hypothetical Spider-Man game.
Right, yes, it would be. This could take a few episodes to explain.
Would it?
It could,
We've got.
depending on how in-depth we get with it.
That's. I don't know. I think I can summarize it fairly well.
Well,
So, this pitch is going to go directly to who makes the Spider-Man games? Activision. It's Activision.
Yes.
Dear Activision, this is from a loyal fan of Spider-Man 2. I don't even remember how many times I've played through that game.
Same. I also bought Amazing Spider-Man 2, but I never finished it because it got annoying.
Because it's Amazing Spider-Man 2.
The game was better than the movie, I can say that much.
Okay, that's not saying a lot, though.
Okay, getting back on point.
So the reason, in my opinion, why so many people like Spider-Man 2, because the web slinging and the swinging around the city was great. It felt realistic. It felt like you were being Spider-Man. And there were lots of cool ways of, like, oh, you could string a villain up on, okay, you're flying again. If you make fire, how, Mr. Fantastic?
Well, think about it like this. All he needs is something to ignite his farts. So clearly what he does is he uses some of the skin near his butt to smack across each other like a match, and lights the methane in his butt crack.
This fucking game. But the thing about Spider-Man 2 is it was cool because you were being Spider-Man, you could do lots of neat things around the city, and it was like, oh, there's random crimes, you have to help people in the city, just like Spider-Man would do.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, from what I can understand, a lot of games since then, it's been like, they keep trying to beef up the combat system. But it's like, but I think there's a lot of people where the fantasy of being Spider-Man is based in his ability to punch people.
I think more of it is based in how to do fun things with web than it is in
Fun things with webs, swinging around the city, but also the fact that he is relatable because he has bills and shitty landlords, and his powers half the time make more problems than they solve.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, that's always why he's been popular, in my opinion, because he's very relatable.
Yes.
So, it looked like he was grabbing the sushi for a sec. What is going on?
He just tried to grab the sushi. He did
Yeah.
exactly what you thought he was doing.
Okay, is he an idiot?
Everybody's kind of an idiot in the Lego games.
Cool. So you do a Spider-Man game where the whole point, because the whole point of being Spider-Man, the only reason I think Homecoming was such a good movie, is because it's constantly being pulled between being Spider-Man and being Peter. And they had all these scenes where it's like, oh, he's looking down on all the cool people swimming around in the pool, and he was invited, but no, he has to be Spider-Man. He has to choose to disappoint his friends and give up on the spelling bee or whatever the hell they were doing. The big quiz in DC. So they need to make that a game where the game starts and you have your narrator, and for humor's sake, we're gonna say the narrator is I don't know, Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, he sounds pretty good. I mean,
I don't think he's ever been involved with Spider-Man
Yeah.
in any way, shape, or form, but
No.
he's a cool actor.
yeah.
And he's like, welcome to the game, let's learn how to be Spider-Man. First we're going to show how you upswing, but then, like, Peter's phone goes off, he's like, oh wait, shit, no, you have to go to school. And then you just sit in school for like an entire day, and you just have to be Peter and talk with your friends and whatnot. And you spend the first part of the game, it's like, man, I want to be Spider-Man. And the game's like, nope, you have to be Peter. You have to be Peter Parker. And the whole game is built around that pull of you want to be Spider-Man, but you also have to be Peter. And so there's all these... Everything is based on that conflict. Where it's like, okay, it's after school, you have 5 hours of free time. You can be Spider-Man, but... Who's that? Oh, it's Heroes for Hire.
Sorry, I didn't want to distract you, but the boss fight's gonna be over soon. Anyways, back to Peter.
So everything is you have to choose how to use all of your time, much like if anyone's ever played one of the Persona games. They kind of do that.
Why didn't I see this
But there's no JRPG dating sim in the Spider-Man game.
Right.
Don't hurt Dr. Octopus.
No, but they'll hurt his octopus arm.
Oh, okay.
beloved mechanical weapons?
And so it's like, okay, you have 5 hours to be... you have 5 hours of free time. Cool. Do whatever you want. But, if you don't study, your grades are going to fail. If you don't work a job, you're going to lose your rent. If you don't hang out with your friends are going to start hating you. And, oh, maybe if Harry gets angry enough because you don't see him ever, he'll turn into the Green Goblin later in the game. The Hobgoblin. And then you have to try and find a way to trick the game. And the game will encourage you to make you feel like you are kind of taking advantage of the game. Look, it's Green Goblin. Ha 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 ha. That's great.
Right.
So, like, the game will teach you how to deliver pizzas. It'll say, alright, you can pick up the pizzas and you swing around, blah, 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 and that's it. And they don't tell you how you can integrate that with other things. But when you're swinging around, maybe a crook appears, and it's like, okay, well, I'll just set the pizza down, and I'll go fight the crook. Or, like, you can choose to deliver pizzas on a bike. Or you could also do it as Spider-Man, and then on your way of delivering pizzas, fight crime. Because Spider-Man 2 had a delivering pizza minigame, but it was literally just delivering pizzas. That was it. You never had to set it down and go stop a mugging.
Right.
They were all separate entities.
Yes.
And then you have to feel... the game, ideally, it wants to make you feel clever for feeling like, oh, if I mix and match all this stuff together, I can do a little bit of everything. It's like, you need to take pictures of Spider-Man for the Daily Bugle. And they established in like the movies, like he does that by kind of webbing cameras in certain locations. So maybe it's like, okay, well I'm fighting a crook, but I remember that I webbed a camera over at First and Main, and that's only like a block away. So if I take this crook and carry him over there, I can get pictures of the Daily Bugle. And also, maybe there's a pizza over there, and I'm also delivering pizzas.
Yeah.
And you have to find a way to force all of your different lives to work together. That would be a good Spider-Man game.
I assume you get style points on each picture you get.
Yeah.
People like style points.
If you're punching a criminal, or if you're doing a cool acrobatic move.
Can you punch a criminal while also eating a slice of pizza in front of the camera?
No, because then you'd be stealing pizza from loyal customers.
But what if you eat the pizza? What if you bought the pizza yourself because you were hungry and you needed to eat because you have all this stuff going on, but you also need to eat because you're Spider-Man? And every time you shoot that, unless you have web canisters, are we going like Spider-Man?
I would say web canisters, because then that would be another limiting factor.
I assume because then, well, that could be another reason you have to do that job, because you need the money to get the materials to make the web.
Or then maybe you could also steal the materials from your science classroom, like he kind of does in Homecoming.
Yeah.
But if you do it too much, maybe like the teacher catches you and you have to serve detention, and then detention takes 2 hours out of your day. See, that would be so cool. And there could be multiple different endings. Like, if you go whole hog on Spider-Man and all your friends hate you, you get the sad friend ending.
Where none of your friends like you.
None of your friends like you. Harry's the Green Goblin. Gwen breaks up with you or dies or something. I don't know.
I think she has to die regardless. She has to die by the midpoint of the game.
But everyone expects her to die, so not killing her would be an interesting move in and of itself. What the happened there?
Game physics.
Okay.
But if she dies, then you can bring in Spider-Gwen.
That's true, and everyone likes Spider-Gwen.
Of course, that could also be a DLC campaign. After, not something that's
true.
Not something that's missing from the story, but like an extra thing where you meet alternate versions of Spider-Man, or it could be the sequel, whatever. Maybe you just date.
That'd be neat, and like the whole game is like, oh cool, I want to learn more about Spider-Gwen, but it's like, oh, but our date keeps getting interrupted by crooks and criminals and blah 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 blah. So then, like in the middle of the date, oh look, I found you some chocolate. Did you steal it? No. There could be lots of cool things to do with that. But there's also the opposite ending, where if you get super awesome at your friends, Harry loves you, and you've got a cool girlfriend who's totally not dead, but then the Green Goblin escapes with his plan to do whatever it is the Green Goblin wants to do.
Yeah, whatever it is. I'm not totally sure what it is.
But then, like, maybe the public hates Spider-Man even more because he's not being Spider-Man.
Because he hasn't been there to help.
Yeah.
Do any other superheroes show up during this game?
Probably not. And if they did, I mean, A, it would have to be a big deal because Peter Parker's just some kid.
Well, it depends, because
Depends on the hero, too.
if he's paying rent, then he has to be older than the teenager.
That's true.
Which means he would probably be, like, at
College
least...
age.
He would be at least known by the Avengers. I'm saying, maybe don't include Captain America, but maybe a team-up mission with Daredevil or the Punisher would be cool.
You just want him to fight Kingpin.
Yeah. So? Is that so bad?
Yeah, I don't know. What can Black Widow do?
Well, she's invisible.
What's
right now.
that? You're gonna tell me next time on Quickie Plays?